Okay, so welcome you to another video. I'm just, playing around with ideas, and in this video series, I'm just going to talk about some things I observe in paintings that I really like. So, this is a painting called Nighthawks. It was created by Edward Hopper in 1942. And what I really like about this particular painting, when I was a teacher in the classroom, I used this technique called see, think, and wonder, where I first try and identify what I see in the painting and then think about what is happening in the painting and then wonder why those things are happening in that painting. So I was thinking about the time context when this painting was created. It was around 1942, so it was the start of or the middle of World War II. And at this time, because of the nuclear program, a lot of cities, especially New York, where Edward Hopper stayed, was under a lot of tension and pressure. So I can see some of that stress in this painting. But for me, what I wanted to focus on in this video is the idea of loneliness in Edward Hopper's Nighthawks. As you can see, this is a diner, and I can see four people inside the diner: the person that works there, a lady, a man, and then another man sitting on his own. I noticed that all the shops outside the diner are there's no one in those shops. The windows and the shops are closed. It doesn't seem like there are people living in the houses up there, or at least that's what the artist wanted us to portray. There's a cash register right here in that shop, which means it was some kind of shop, but there's no goods being displayed there. Um, and then as I look at the faces of the people at this in this particular painting, you'll notice that the couple, they seem a little distant and reserved. Especially the lady seems lost in thought. The man is trying to make conversation as he's tilted a little bit towards the lady, but is still the expression or emotion you see in his face is one of resignation or like withdrawal. The person working there is in a state of maybe asking a question to one of them about what they want. Seems like the lady has something, and he's trying to make conversation with the man. I'm curious about what this particular character is doing. Because his back is turned to us, I really can't see. If I had to connect that to the modern world, he may be on his smartphone, but maybe over here he's just waiting for someone, or he's just there on his own, which is also something we don't do as often, go out to places on our own. And when we do that, it's often looked at as antisocial. When For me personally, I really enjoy going to places on my own. So I always wondered why that was not looked at favorably. For me, I think what's really amazing, so these are some of the things I see an ad on the top. And then I started thinking, what does this painting make me think about? With regards to loneliness, I just feel like because of the emptiness of the houses and how these characters, I just feel like their body language is telling me that they're longing for conversation, but they don't seem to get that sort of social connection and conversation, at least at this point in their lives. This could be due to personal reasons, due to professional reasons. It just seems like their shoulders are also like are not are not like showing a lot of conviction. You see, like this person's, the man's shoulder over here is a little low and tired, and it's the same with the two of them over there. Their emotions look really tired, and that's where I thought that this particular painting shows that these people seem withdrawn in their own worlds, even though they are together. And that is an emotion that we all often feel, that even though we're really connected with social media, very often we feel alone in crowds. There may be a word for that in some language. There are like one, two, three, four, five, six stools that are empty. And I think this painting not only talks about the times, but it also can be translated to what we're seeing in the world today with the digital age, where there's this perception that we're more connected because of social media, but often there are just very few people we can really turn to in times of trouble. When I was making this painting, I did some research on Edward Hopper. This goes back to my wonder framework about what does this painting make me wonder. And when I was like researching about him, I think he was always fascinated by the city of New York. He lived and stayed there for a really long time. He found success as an artist in his early 40s. Till then, he worked as an illustrator. He studied art for like 6 years at the Parsons School of Design, and he really had those ambitions to become an artist. He was influenced by the Impressionists and Van Gogh. And there's another painting by Van Gogh that I think is really similar to this. And I am just amazed by how he has used contrasting colors to present light. And when I was reading about his life, his early sketches, like he made about 19 sketches for this particular painting. And currently, it's located at the Art Institute of Chicago that bought the painting for about $3,000. Again, I'll have to fact check that. It's an oil on canvas. These are the dimensions. Um, and this is what Edward Hopper said about this particular painting. Unconsciously, probably I was painting the loneliness of a large city. In an all night diner, three customers sit at the counter opposite a server. Each appear to be lost in thought and disengaged from one another. The composition is tightly organized and spare in details. There's no entrance to the establishment, no debris on the streets. Through harmonious geometric forms and glow of the diner's electric lighting, Hopper created a serene, beautiful yet enigmatic scene. And they say it's inspired by a restaurant Hopper visited on Greenwich Avenue. Um, I think, as the description reads over here, we're left to wonder about the figures, their relationship, and this imagined world. I saw these two amazing videos by Smart History and Great Art Explained that spoke about this painting. I'll link both of them in the notes for this video. Um, but again, Edward, a little more about like Edward Hopper as an artist. They say that this particular painting was inspired by a short story. It's also inspired by his visit to Europe. And if you can look at this particular image here, this was how the painting is placed in the Art Institute of Chicago. It's got its own room, and that also depicts the loneliness of what that particular artist was trying to say. Um, this particular piece about being lonely in a large city, I can really connect to because I've stayed in two large cities, Mumbai and Toronto, and I noticed that that is a general sense that you often feel that even though you're surrounded by so many people, there are very few people that'll just turn up at the drop of a hat in case you need that help or support. Mm, yeah, these are just some of the notes that I've written down. Um, but yeah, I think in terms of wondering, I think what this painting makes me think about is what is the relationship between the man and the woman. Um, is this that person's full-time job at the diner? What kind of food do they serve at this diner? What shop used to exist there? What kind of job does this man sitting on his own do? He gives me this vibe of like a madman sort of Donald Draper character. Um, and yeah, I just am fascinated by how Edward Hopper has used the color yellow to create this night sort of scene, and I think that's so hard to do. And that's something I noticed immediately when I saw this painting. It's definitely one of my favorite paintings. And that contrast is just amazing. You can see that he's used lighter shades outside and like a darker shade for the table. And there's no door to this particular uh, diner that you can see in the painting. So it's almost like we're looking into, like, when you go to a zoo, you look at animals. It's almost like we're looking at this human zoo with animals or like human specimens inside them going about their day-to-day duty. And he sort of captured that moment in time. So yeah, this was my explanation of loneliness in Edward Hopper's Nighthawks. That's currently at the Art Institute of Chicago and was created in 1942.